Good morning and happy Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Daily Mastermind. I am your host, Sonny Von Cleveland. It is inevitable that bad things are going to happen. Bad news is going to happen. Things are going to happen in our lives. We're going to hear news that we weren't prepared for, things that we didn't expect, things that hurt us, things that cause us fear and pain and sadness. Shakespeare famously said, "There is nothing bad or good, but thinking makes it so." The reality is that events will happen, but the important part is that we choose the way we respond to things that happen. And we're going to discuss that today and give you some tips and tools and tricks on how you can turn those tragedies into triumphs, your losses into lessons. Have a seat, have a drink. This is the Daily Mastermind. Joining me again today is U.S. retired Navy Chief Carl Blair. Carl, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. Just got to walk the dogs and just hanging out.
It's a happy Friday.
It is.
It's been a good week. Actually, today is the 10th episode of the Daily Mastermind. Not bad. Checking off some milestones. It's the 10th episode. So congrats to you for taking a new thing in your life. You know, before we jump into the topic, I want to tell you a little bit about Carl and I and how this all went down. Yeah, and this is a testament to how things happen in our lives. I went to Billy Reed's to get some dinner for Claire and I several weeks ago, and I was talking to somebody at the bar about my cat cafe, I think, and I saw Carl, and I started talking to Carl about it, and then we started just having the most authentic discussion about positivity and motivation and all of that, and it turned into this. It turned into a great friendship. It turned into a show. It's amazing because Carl has an amazing story in his life. Who would have thunk, right?
Yep.
And I love it. So today we're talking about how to turn losses into lessons. And how you can turn tragedies into triumphs. We've all been through a ton of stuff. Marcus Aurelius said, "Objective judgment now at this very moment. Unselfish action now at this very moment. Willing acceptance right now at this very moment." That is all you need. If you can learn how to lock this method into your life as a response to bad news, objective judgment, unselfish action, and willing acceptance, you can come to find that every single thing that happens to us, you're able to take a step back, take a pause, and learn from something that just happened, and not allow yourself to be emotionally attached or caught up in the moment and react to situations emotionally. You can learn to find the lesson or the wisdom in anything that happens. You can if you focus on how you respond to something, you're able to glean the lessons that are learned from it. I have been through a lot in my life, and I have a lot on this because I think turning losses into lessons is the way that I was able to survive molestation, prison, and everything else in my life. Carl, doing 20 years in the Navy, I'm sure that you've experienced plenty of losses, setbacks, upsetments, and then even in your life. Give us an example of how you have turned a loss into a loss into a lesson, or a tragedy into a triumph. Joe Torres.
So pretty much growing up in a very small town, and because I couldn't accept my sexuality, the one thing that my mom and dad taught me was faith and being connected with my spirit, and knowing that I was going down a wrong road, and the lesson was saying, it's time for the change. You have to make that change. So at 17 years old, I jumped into the car that I bought and drove to the nearest town, which was 30 minutes. And I joined the Navy. And from that, it just opened up my life to a different world. And when I joined the Navy, I was like, no one's going to tell me what to do. Ain't nobody going to tell me. But I
Right.
learned really, really quick that it just wasn't working for me. And I was like, but why? But why? But then I learned that I just took a step back and realized that people are going to do what they're going to do. And it's a voluntary Navy. You go into the Navy, no one owes you nothing. What you owe them is to do your very best. And so I joined the Navy, and I learned that in order to be successful, at least in the military, you always do what you're told. You say, yes, sir. And so that was my biggest lesson that I learned. And that's what got me through 20 years, is that I just took a step back with everything. And I didn't allow it to get pulled into their story. That was my biggest lesson, not to get pulled into the story.
I like it. I like it when you're able to follow order. I think when you follow a structure or a system or an order, it instills into you the calmness and the stillness that's required to step back and take a non-judgmental assessment of a situation, right? Because if you're doing something, or you're in the heat of the moment, or you're in it, you're doing something that is high tension or high intensity, you have to be you have to be independent of your emotion, because emotional responses cloud our judgment. We're not able to make the most logical and solid assessment when we're in our emotions. We all know I did 18 years in prison, and to me, I don't look at it like a loss. I look at it as the most valuable journey that I've taken in my life. It was I can look back at it and see how tragic it can be for a 16-year-old to be put in prison. But I can also turn around now at this stage in my life. I can turn around and see how it was the best education I could have ever hoped for. Because through that journey, I had a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of depression, a lot of sadness. And there's nothing that changes it. Nothing you can do will change that scenario. So when you live in a perpetual state of fear, of high security, high alert, depression, and sadness, you either get to a point where you understand the emotion itself is not real. It's not a tangible thing. It's something that I am allowing to take place. It's something that I'm allowing to happen. I've sat down in the hole, crying my eyes out, depressed and sad as anything, not wanting to live anymore. And I got to a point that I had to stand back up and say, okay, the emotion is gone, the pain is gone, and I'm still here because there is no way to off myself. I'm in a room that has nothing. And so you sit there and you sit through it. And on the other side of that tragic emotion was a lesson. I was able to get up and say, okay, no, I don't want to be here. I did survive that. I made it through it. I'm still alive. I still have my breath, and I still have an opportunity to put one foot in front of the other and move forward. What can I learn from the emotions that I just had? What can I learn from the tragedy that I just went through? And when you can apply that type of philosophy to any situation, you glean all the lessons from it. You glean what's good, and you can leave the bad. We can look at it in almost any scenario. When you're in a car accident, right? Our first thing is I get angry as shit. Like I've never hit somebody in a car. I've been hit, but I've never hit somebody. And it was after my prison, so I was already emotionally stable enough and emotionally intelligent enough that when the person hit me, my first reaction wasn't, oh my God, I can't believe you did that to me. It was, why did this happen? I was able to get out of the car, first make sure everybody was okay, because that's the most important part, and then figure out, why did this happen? And the one particular accident I'm talking about happened in Mentor, Ohio. Somebody had clipped my back end, and it turns out that a mile ahead was a massive, massive accident, because there was black ice on the road. It was January, I think January or December, and I was driving Uber, and the guy had clipped me. It was probably 7, 8 o'clock at night. The guy clipped me in the back. It was just a tap. It put a little dent in the car. We pulled off to the side, exchanged insurance information, blah, blah, blah. And I then found on my Uber app, because it alerts you that there's a massive, massive accident. There's a big patch of black ice on the road. And Whether or not I would have hit that black ice or been involved in that accident, we can't say. It's conjecture. But the fact that this person hit me prevented me from going down that road. And so I looked at that like it's divine intervention, right? Like that was supposed to happen that way. And so instead of being angry about the car, I was able to smile and take that lesson away and say, you know what? It's a good thing that that little dent happened. I can pop that dent out. And I wasn't involved. I didn't have to see the tragedy of the accident or be involved in it. Make sense, Carl?
It does. I always, if someone's about to hit me and I don't get angry anymore, I pretty much say, thank you for not hitting me. And I'm grateful for that experience. So
that's something that Claire has taught me that I never thought of before. But every time you see an ambulance or a fire truck or police cars, and I used to get frustrated because now I have to pull off to the side of the road. I have to stop my forward progression of what I'm doing and where I'm going. She brought to light in my mind that you can give off thoughts of well-wishing, happiness, hopeful recovery, prayers to the ambulance, whoever's in it, to the fire truck and the firemen and wherever they're going, or to the cop and whoever's in it. And you can hope for a successful and happy and positive outcome for whoever's involved in that scenario. And putting that kind of goodness into the earth, I think reaps such a huge benefit, right?
Yes, it does.
And it just keeps it in your mind of being positive and being happy and sending out love and light to everybody. And those losses can be lessons. I might lose a couple seconds off of my commute to wherever the hell it is I'm going, but somebody's life is in the balance right now. If there's an ambulance, if there's a fire truck, or if there's a cop car going nuts, somebody's life is potentially on the line. And for me to lose a couple of seconds is nothing. It's nothing compared to whatever somebody's going through that is involved in that scenario. So I want to try to help people to understand that whenever something happens, we take a beat, take a breath, stop. And I've gotten really good at this. When something bad happens, I stop and I say, okay, here's the event. This is what happened. Here are the facts of this event. How do I want to respond? And I've done it now with losing friends. I've done it with losing loved ones. I've done it with bad friends. I've done it with enemies. I've done it with crazy things that happen in the world. I'm reading The Success Principles by Jack Canfield right now. And while it's an amazing book so far, he said something in there that that I didn't resonate with, which was something about only focus on the things that we can control and the things that we can't control. And the only things that we can control are our actions. But that's not necessarily true. We can't control the what. No, that's what he said. He said people only concern themselves with what they can control. And that they only complain about things that they can control. Right. And I don't think that's true. Right. Because people complain about the weather all the time. You can't control the weather. You can't control rain. You can't control earthquakes. And people complain about them all the time. We complain about the economy all the time. We complain about the government all the time. And we can't control those things. So when something happens in the world or the government or the economy, gas is over $6 a gallon. Is there a lesson there? Is there something to be learned? It's a loss, right? We look at it like it cost me $80 to fill up my little $12-gallon tank. But paradise is not cheap, right?
No.
Paradise isn't free. And so there's a lesson involved in that loss where you look at, okay, I have to pay a little bit more, but that money goes to help people, right? If you pay higher taxes, if you pay more in gas, we can look at the state of the economy and be pissed off about it, but we can turn around and look at what that money goes to do and how it helps. And I think that can give us a better perspective of life and turn that loss into a lesson as well. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
But one of the biggest things, it's going on 7 years that my mother passed away. And interesting enough, my mother was the most amazing woman. And she had insight and she had, and I'm super blessed that she's with me today, every day in my heart. But I just miss her on this planet. But the biggest lesson she taught me is to let go and love and compassion. She was always just unconditional love. And a couple of days before she died, she's just telling me, mijito, it's okay if your dad meets someone one day, but not right away. And I'm like, Mom, are you dying? And all you can think about is is your husband, your family, and still. And I'm like, no way that's gonna meet anybody. You cooked, you cleaned, you did everything. That's never gonna find anybody. You never doubt your mother. Literally 4 years later, this beautiful woman came into his life, and they're still together like 3 years later. So I'm really grateful. And it also taught me, because I got a divorce, that she showed me, like, look, son, your dad was with me for 48 years, but he's still able to love again. And so she put that little seed in there because she wanted to make sure that I was okay. And no matter, so it's keeping those lessons and those things in your life that are important to you, and making sure that you take care of you. These are the lessons that teach us. That
I
makes,
think that's amazing. I think your mother gave you a gift of healing,
yep.
of how to, and that is the ultimate, turning a tragedy into a triumph. She gave you a lesson on how to heal and how to let go and how to accept, because letting go is a part of life. Death is such a big part of life, and I know it's a touchy subject. Death is such a touchy subject.
It is, but it's actually really beautiful. The way I was fortunate enough, I was on a plane, and just like you, I happened to sit. This time I sat in the wrong seat, but so I'm sitting down talking to this woman, and this other woman comes in and said, "I see you're having a great conversation, but this is my seat, but you can stay there. Which is your seat?" So long story short, this woman she helps people transition to death. This was
Oh,
a year.
wow.
This was a year before my mother passed. And we're having these conversations about life and death. And she's like, "If you ever need my help, please give me a call." And she lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico, close to where I grew up in Espanola. And literally almost 6 or 7 months later, I'm calling this woman, and she came to our house, and she talked about the death process. And it's kind of like the process of giving birth. Only in birth, you give a new life. But in death, our life goes through here, and we're birthed into the next world. And I was super blessed at that moment to experience that, and see what a beautiful thing, and to be in that same space and hold the space for your mother as she leaves this earth was such a really beautiful lesson in life, that it's okay to let go. And that once that spirit goes, it's such a beautiful thing. And
I've been reading a lot on death and what that means in life and how it looks. And the harsh reality of it is that death is coming for all of us. We're all coming. Death has always came. Death will always come. And every day we are playing with house money. We are ahead of the game because the clock is ticking. Death is trying to catch up to us, right?
yeah.
So if you look at it, when people die, it's we all go back to something, right? It's going to another spot. You're either going to where you assumed you would go, which is a heaven or an Elysian field or a Valhalla or wherever afterlife you think, or you're going to nothing and you're just going to be unconscious. Either way, this life stops, the next one happens. And so we don't fear death, we prepare for death. And if we look at all the lessons and wisdoms that we take from life and we prepare for death, it makes every day that much more special. It makes that much more day, it makes every day much more fulfilled, because we know that we're playing on borrowed time and we can make the most of every day. And by taking any tragedy or tragic event or loss that happens and saying, you know what, that's a part of the process. And I know it's so much harder to actually apply it in the moment when it's going down. This is something Ryan Sheckle brought up a few episodes ago, which was really, really profound, is that it's hard to do that in the moment. It's hard to remember in the moment to stop, especially if you just lost a loved one and you're trying to sift through the pain and the emotion to find a way to continue on. But in there is where that magic happens. It's in that moment where you make response to events a habit. You choose the way that you respond. For me, it's always been when somebody dies, I like to celebrate their life. I want to look back at all the lessons they've given, all the happy moments we've had, because everybody has to die. Everybody has to die at some point. And for me, it's a journey to the next life. It's a journey to the next phase, and you served your purpose. You were here. You gave lessons. You gave love. You gave light, and there was a lesson for somebody to learn from your life. And I think that that's true of every human being that comes on this planet. I think every human being has a purpose, and I think every person left a lesson to be learned. Everybody that dies leaves a lesson to be learned. Do you think that's true?
That's very true. Yeah.
Right. Any person that's ever been here left a lesson in some way, shape, or form, whether it was a global figure who came in and built businesses. There's lessons that he left. If it was a philosopher that came in life and wrote philosophy, he left a lesson. Whether it was the kid that grew up abused, locked in a cage, and abused his whole life and never even saw happiness, love, light, or freedom, that innocent child left a lesson too. Every life leaves a lesson. And the more we can sit down and analyze, and I want y'all to take some time out, take 10 minutes out a day. Take 10 minutes a day in research. If you're going to use your phone, use your phone. Google and research life lesson of the day. Just put that in, life lesson of the day. And you're going to find out there are such a huge demographic of people in this world that share life lessons. There's so much beauty out there. If we just consume the mainstream media or the social media apps that we have, it's generally filled with bullshit. It's filled with nonsense. It's filled with sadness, tragedy, and all of that, because the world feeds off of tragedy, right? Like seeing tragedy in other places helps us feel better about the state of our own life. And if you can tune that out and you tune into positive stuff, you tune into life lessons, you learn, your day suddenly seems more fulfilled because you're not ingesting tragedy. You're not feeling bad or sad for somebody else somewhere in the world that something bad has happened to, because we all got our own shit lives that we have to deal with, right? And if we can take that and we lock that in habitually every day, your life doesn't have to be shit. I live the most free, beautiful life that I could imagine living. I don't even know how to explain it. My life is so happy and fulfilled, and I still have struggles. I still have tragedy. I have a son that I haven't seen in over a year. I have, kids in other states. I have tragedy that faces me a lot, but we control our response to the scenario, and we're able to stand up and say, you know what, life's not so bad. Everything happens because it's supposed to happen. And only thing I can control is the way I respond to an event. What do you think about that?
So most of my life, I was I've chosen my path, joining the military. As soon as I got out, I met somebody, fell in love, and for whatever reason, my life it happened for me. But I made certain choices in my life, and I ran to them, and I made it happen. And so no matter what we do in this life, we have to make sure that we have that focus. And once you have that focus, you can able to go with it. Sometimes it may be the wrong turn, but then you have to refocus. And that's where my life is taking me.
Is there any such thing as a wrong turn?
No, because it makes you the person who I am today. I mean, it made me who I am today.
Right. I don't think that there's actually a such thing as a wrong turn in life. I think that everything happens because it's supposed to happen, even if it's something we don't understand or something that we're not comfortable with or something that we didn't plan or foresee. Everything that happens is supposed to happen, right?
Yeah. And when you look back at the door that you closed and you continue to look at that door, you're not going to be able to see the door that's open for you. It's right there, but you can't see it because you're so focused in the past and everything about that. And so, and that's what I've been struggling with. Well, there's a door open for me right now. And I'm like, and it's scary as shit because it doesn't make any sense. It kind of looks like your story in a sense, but in a different way. And I'm just like, I see this and I can see a life but I'm scared because the reality is it doesn't make sense to me. It's familiar. So I get to choose though. I get to choose story.
No doubt. And the one thing that I love that you have joined this journey is you're learning and growing, and the people that are watching get to watch your life and the lessons that you learn. And the same thing with me, same thing with Claire, same thing with anybody that joins this show, is you get to watch as somebody manifests in something. Like Carl had no idea he would be doing this, bearing his soul and telling his story to the world. You didn't even know that a month ago. So you're jumping off and diving into the deep end of the pool fearlessly. And I think that there's something to be said about that. There's people that are going to learn and grow from your life story, your lessons in life, and what we do here at the Daily Mastermind. And for everybody that engages and that watches, you are part of that growth. You are part of the growth that helps people in life. There are people here, and I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million times more. If we can help one person, it's worth it. If we have 10 people that are watching right now, and one of you takes something beneficial away from this show, it was worth my 30 minutes to come on here and talk about the things that we have learned and share this amazing stuff with people. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so thank you, Carl, for your dedication on the 10th episode of the Daily Mastermind. Thank you for your dedication, your willingness to share your story and your soul. It is Friday, so we're going to have a little bit of fun on our way out. And I want you guys to meet the man behind the scene. His name is Amos Creek. It's Amos Cheek, but I call him Amos Creek. And Sam is here. And you know what? Amos and Sam started with me on my journey almost 2 years ago now, and have been there through this whole ride. It's been crazy. And I want you guys to meet my Kentucky brother from Amos Creek. He has his own channel coming out soon called Up the Creek. Everybody, please say hi to Amos Creek.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing, buddy?
All right.
I think this may be one of the first times I've ever had Amos Creek live on the air.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever been on.
And
out of everything.
I wanted you to come on here because you have seen everything that we have done from pretty much day one.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about some of the lessons and things that you have learned along the way? Because we've had tragedy here. We had almost 50,000 subscribers and we were hacked. We almost got to 10,000 again and we were hacked. And you have put just as much effort and time into this as I have. What lessons have you learned along this path and this journey?
For one, you have to take everything in stride, because if you let everything get to you, it's considered nothing but a setback, and you have to be able to move forward and not go back.
Facts.
If you can keep going forward, then it's just progression.
Right.
And that's what we all need to strive for, is to go forward, progress in our lives, and move on. Because you can't control the factors around you. You can't control what other people do at all.
No.
You can only control what you're doing, and whatever those people are doing, as long as it's not affecting you directly, then it doesn't matter.
What does it matter?
Exactly.
Right?
So you have to learn to let everything that goes on around you, as long as it's not bothering you, just let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go.
Be careful with the stories you tell yourself in your head.
Right. You have to let that stuff go. You have to move on it. And I've learned so much just from having Amos in my life. Amos is you're the epitome of non-emotional reactions. Like I've never seen Amos like angry. I've never seen Amos. And we have had some crazy times, right? But I've never seen Amos like, son of a, lose his mind. He's never lost his mind. And I'm like, to be able to put up with me and just me in all the crazy ideas and shows that I have, because I mean, I'm a literally walking think tank. I will create an entirely new show, an entirely new thing, pop it up and do one episode and quit.
Yeah.
And I
We
don't
just
follow
do a lot
through.
of that.
And
I
I know
mean-
that there has been times where Amos has been like, son of a but I've never seen him get angry. I've never seen him lose his cool. He always has a level head. And you have taught me a lot, brother. You have taught me a lot, man. And I appreciate your sacrifice, your time, and coming on this journey with me, man. And it's been an incredible ride. And we're just getting started, man. We're still here, and we're going to be doing a lot better and doing more things to help the world, man. Because that's one of the things that initially drew me. You have one of the most altruistic hearts I've ever met. You are such an apathetic and empathetic individual, and you give everybody a shot, man. And it's amazing. And he speaks his mind. Don't take that for weakness, because he speaks his piece for sure. Amos, thank you so much for coming on with us, buddy. I'd love to have you on. I know you have a lot of other stuff. So, I mean, more than happy and more than welcome to come join the show at any time. And Storm of Iron, we're still waiting to get you on the show, my guy. I know that the work schedule prevents a lot of things, but listen, everybody, it's been a great week. I want you all to have an amazing weekend. Stop, take a minute to think. And Amos, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh,
this is the first time I've ever had John here, so I'm going to do this to you. Carl, I'm going to let you start, and we're going to leave people with a final word of the day for something inspirational to take with them. Go for it.
Be the change that you want to see in yourself, and learn to let go.
100%. Learn to let go. Yes. I like that. Amos, your final words of the day, my lord.
Just to follow up on what Carl says, you can't let everything bother you. If you do, then you're just falling backwards. Just move forward with your life. Go on. Let things slide. Because no matter how bad it gets, there's always something better in front of you.
Yep.
Nice. No matter how bad it gets, there's always something in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, in the famous words of Shakespeare, there is no good or bad. It's thinking that makes it so. Nothing in life is going to affect you unless you allow it to. Nothing in your life is bad. Nothing in your life is good. It's the way that you respond to and perceive the event that's going to determine whether or not you're going to regress or progress from that event in that scenario. Do yourselves a favor. Take 10 minutes every day to ingest something wise. Manage what you ingest and what you take in, because what you ingest is what you'll eventually put out. What comes in has to go out. So the more that you ingest, the more you're going to put out, and manage what you ingest. It's the same thing as a diet. Have a great weekend, everybody. I want to thank Carl and Amos for jumping on with me. You guys are the best. Everybody have an amazing weekend. Make the most of it. Tell someone you love them. Be humble, be kind. Each one teach one. Share, love, grow together. That's what we're here for. Have a beautiful weekend. Carl, Amos, I'm Sonny. This has been the Daily Mastermind. We'll see you guys Monday.
Bye.